Hello, good morning or good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuning in from. My name is Bianca Henderson. I actually just want to make sure that the audio is working here. If you can hear me, just say a quick yes, or I just want to see if folks can. Yep. All right, great. Awesome. Thanks so much. Today, my co-host Jürgen Etzelstorfer will be discussing deployment automation and self-healing with Dynatrace and Ansible. Before we begin, I'd like to cover some housekeeping items. So this webinar is being recorded. A link to the recording will be emailed to all attendees within a couple of days, probably tomorrow, most likely. We'll also be doing an audio Q&A after the presentation portion of this webinar. So if you have any questions, please type them into the audience chat interface. And with that, let's get started. So first, I'll introduce myself. My name is Bianca Henderson. I'm an engineer on the Ansible Partner Certification team at Red Hat. I've been using Ansible since June of 2017, and previous to this position, I was on a team that provided installation and configuration support for new and trialing Ansible Tower users. Now I currently help business partners get their modules, plugins, and roles certified, as well as available to the public. And I also want to mention that my awesome teammates, John Liskey and Jake Jackson, are also on here. They're also on the partner certification team, and they will answer any technical questions and stuff on the chat that I will not state at the end of the webinar. And with that, I'll let my co-host introduce himself.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me in this webinar. My name is Jürgen. I work at Dynatrace, and here I'm a technology strategist, which means that most of my day I kind of experience and research new technologies. I play around a little bit with them. I have contact to partners of Dynatrace. We try to build awesome use cases with Dynatrace, as well as with the softwares of our partners. So this is also why we kind of decided to join forces here and to do a little webinar to show what you can do when you join forces between Ansible and Dynatrace.
That's awesome. Okay. And if you could kind of just give like a brief overview of what Dynatrace does. I'm actually going to launch a poll here about people's experience level who might be in the audience of their familiarity with Dynatrace. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that.
Okay. So Dynatrace is an kind of, actually now we are a software intelligence platform. So we started as being an APM vendor for application performance monitoring and application performance management. But actually right now we are more way than this. So we provide, and we have a very automated solution, which is called the One Agent. And the One Agent is it's an agent you install in your machines, and it covers a broad variety of technologies that we can then monitor for you. So we monitor and we make sure that your applications and your services are running at the very best they should. So you can, as a customer, you can provide the very best customer experience for your customers. We have a full stack monitoring approach. So we monitor everything starting from the front end, all the way back to the back end over different types of technologies. We can monitor .NET, Java, Go, and other types of technologies as well. So we provided full stack monitoring for enterprise systems and kind of enterprise scale systems as well. And our solution is AI powered. So we don't rely on having thresholds and other settings being done manually, but actually our AI detects the normal workloads, detects normal response times of different kinds of services, and then analyzes if there are anomalies and does a root cause analysis, so we can provide actually answers and not just data. So with Dynatrace, you get answers to your problems and not just data, which you have then to analyze yourself, but actually we do all this analysis for you and provide you with the actual problems in your applications or services, and not just with metrics. So this is what we do.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a wide spectrum of things that are covered, yet the kind of solutions are very precise. So it's like a very interesting and useful mix.
Yeah, we will see some of this in the course of the webinar. So it's since we have this very automated approach, you will see that's very easy to install and very easy to use. So we are kind of hiding all the complexity from the actual users of our platform, since we want to enable you to be more productive and to not to play around with technology that should be working but isn't. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's always very useful when things are easy to deploy and everything. I'm actually going to go ahead and close this poll since most folks voted. So we actually thought there might be more beginners or people with no experience with Dynatrace, but there's a good amount of folks with familiarity with Dynatrace, which is really cool to see. Can you see the results?
Yes, I can see some results.
Awesome, great.
We have some of our participants here don't have any experience with Dynatrace yet, so I guess we will take a look a little bit at the product, so you can familiarize yourself. But we have some experts as well and intermediate.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and before we continue with the slides, I actually do want to ask you in the audience, so I'm going to launch just one more poll. This is about experience level with Ansible. So Jürgen, what is, like, how long have you been using Ansible?
I guess I've started, I think, about a year ago, so maybe now it's kind of exactly maybe a year. I think I started December 2017, playing around a little bit with Ansible since I needed some more automation in my everyday work. So I was looking at some different options, and actually Ansible just was a very good fit for my needs. So I started, I would say, about a year ago with Ansible. Yes.
What's been your favorite thing about Ansible during your use?
Actually, I would say it's the ease of use. It's you only have to write a couple of lines in your YAML, and you can do very powerful things. There are a lot of different modules and roles out there you can just use. You don't have to do everything yourself. You can just write small playbooks that just do what you need. It's very kind of human readable and self-explaining. So I don't need a lot of documentation around my playbooks. Most of the playbooks, they kind of are self-explaining. They tell via all the tasks I put in there, they tell what to do. So I think their simplicity and ease of use I like most when I use Ansible.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of similarities there with Dynatrace and Ansible, with like the ease of use, like you're saying, and kind of the wide applicability of usage. Okay, so here's the poll results with experience level of Ansible. About the same for no experience and beginner, and then a few experts in here, and a good amount of intermediate folks. So that's pretty cool to know. So I'm going to hide these results here. And we can just get back into the slide portion and kind of go on with, I think we're going to cover one agent first. So I'll let you take over here, Jürgen.
Yeah, sure, thanks. So I'm very excited. I think we have a good mix in the audience. So what I want to start with is, let's see if the slides are coming up, but I think it looks good. So I want to start with automation or deployment automation, which is key for most of the things we do, since we want to have a lot of automation in our everyday work. Otherwise, it's very kind of boring. We make errors. So what we have for allowing you to be more productive and to automate deployments, we have this role called one agent. So this is also the name of our agent-based technology. And with this role, you're able to roll out the agent on hundreds of hosts just within a couple of minutes. So basically, what you need is you just need access to the Ansible Galaxy, which is publicly available. You can go there, you can search for Dynatrace, you will find the one agent, and it's just a very, very simple command, actually. That's it. So I've just done a very simple exercise before this webinar, and I just installed the one agent on a couple of web servers. So I've just started a couple of instances in the cloud, and I just I put all the IP addresses and SSH keys in a file. I named them my web servers, and actually just with one single task, which you can see here, I'm allowed to deploy the one agent on all those web servers. So this list of web servers could be one, it could be 5, it could be hundreds, but you only need actually really one line of code, and this is what you can see here. So you just paste your installer script URL here. You will get this from your Dynatrace tenant. And by the way, there is a free trial. So everyone which is not so familiar with Dynatrace, you can go to dynatrace.com, sign up for a free trial. I think it lasts about 15 days, so it's plenty of time to play around. So from this, from your tenant, you will also get this URL for the installer. And basically, with this single script or this single playbook, you can just execute this with Ansible, and it will install the one agent on all your web servers in this case. But it could be everything. It could be your database hosts, it could be your web services, it could be your middleware, it could be everything you can think of. Just for the example, I called it web service because most of us, I would just assume most of us run some kind of web server anyway. So it's just an example. So once you install this, what do you get? So as I said, you deploy the one agent on your infrastructure, and then the Dynatrace one agent automatically discovers all the processes running on your infrastructure. It also discovers all the services that are served by these processes, and on top of this, it also discovers all your applications. So applications could be like the customer-facing front end, the customer-facing part of your application, and you have a couple of services and processes that are part of this application. So as you can see in the right-hand side of the screen, we are just taking a look at some services here. So here it says like something like Easy Travel Web Server, which is a demo application of Dynatrace. So this is what we use internally for demo purposes. But what you can see really here is that Dynatrace discovered a couple of services and also how they are connected to each other. So all the small clusters here, you can identify how the services talk really to each other. So with the one agent, you get full insight in your environment. And once some anomalies happen, then the AI automatically detects this for you and also provides a root cause of these problems. So we can take a look, for example, how it could look like this kind of problem. Also, we're just looking at one specific and one small part of the Dynatrace product here, which is called the Smartscape. But just since we have a couple of beginners here in this webinar, I want to show you how you can look at your application. So here we are not looking on the connection between the services, but we are actually looking on a more horizontal way from your applications to the data centers. So we can see that we got some errors here in the processes. So I think here we have a Tomcat here, we have an ASP.NET process here, and these are serving some services, and overall your application is affected in a way that we will create a problem ticket for you, and you can then investigate what's really going on. So we are not showing only that your application is having some troubles, but we are actually really drilling down to the actual root cause of the problem, which is here the two particular processes have some issues, And if you drill deeper, you will see what exactly is going on here. So we have seen with the one agent, you can deploy a solution that gives you full insights of your environments and monitors your environment. And I got a couple of customer quotes. So actually, I have to anonymize them. I'm not allowed to talk right now about those, about the clients of us, but they provided some impressive numbers. And the first quote is that our customers, they deploy 100 Dynatrace agents in 5 minutes with Ansible. So I don't know how exactly they are using the Ansible playbooks or they are writing their Ansible playbooks. I would assume it's very similar to the very basic example I showed you in the beginning, but the numbers are quite impressive. So deploying 900 agents to 900 different hosts in just 5 minutes would just not be possible without automation. So Ansible is a very good fit for you to deploy a lot of software to your hosts. And the second one is maybe even more impressive. So they are deploying also the Dynatrace One agent to 1,300 servers in just a couple of minutes with Ansible. So maybe they didn't have the stopwatch right next to their hands, like the first customers, but deploying the agent to hundreds or even thousands of servers or hosts is now only a matter of a couple of minutes and not a matter of hours or days anymore. So I guess here we can already see the potential of combining the one agent technology with an automation technology like Ansible.
Right. Yeah. It's not only extremely fast and affects and can just deploy a lot of agents and servers and stuff. Like, it's not only that, like, the UI is beautiful. It's very just immediately you can see what's going on. You can sort through everything. You don't actually have to sort through it. It does it for you, so you can just pinpoint exactly what you want to see, which is just really awesome. So after having heard about all this stuff with one agent and stuff, so I'm just wondering what you think is exactly like the power or advantage of combining both automation and monitoring together.
Well, I think since we are also following this approach of having everything without a lot of configuration, you really only need this one single line of code to deploy the agent. It's just leveraging all this automation, and the power is that we can roll out hundreds or even thousands of agents within a couple of minutes. And after a couple of minutes, you can be sure and you can be relaxed that all of your applications and services are being monitored, and Dynatrace will inform you in case something happens which is not inside the AI detected boundaries. So it's really with just within a couple of minutes you will get a lot of answers, and not just only the data that something is wrong and that some response time is increased, but you're really getting a lot of safety for your everyday operations. And I think that's the big power of combining this automated monitoring approach with automated deployment approach. So if you just imagine that you're adding a couple of web servers in this scenario, it's just a matter of again a matter of a couple of minutes to also to monitor these environments as well.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's not just, hey, something's wrong. It's more about like, here's the root cause analysis, because of like the AI, the Dynatrace AI is just giving you details. So you're not having to dig through that either. Like you can just kind of immediately see that. So with the answers that are provided for what the problems are in the infrastructure or like an application or something, what can we do to fix that using automation?
Yeah, actually, thanks for this question, because actually in the second part of the webinar, we will see how to enable the self-healing applications if you combine the power of automation in a little bit different way than we have seen in the first part of this webinar, and combine the power of monitoring. So this is what we see in the second part, and I think I just jump into the second part, and please just interrupt me in case of any questions. But here I want to show you a self-healing, how to enable self-healing applications with Dynatrace and Ansible by combining the strength of both of them. So I've just drawn a very kind of simple process how we can enable auto-remediation or self-healing applications. I will use both terms in this webinar, I guess. What we can see in the left-hand side of what we have seen in this animation in the very beginning was that there is one part which is more the strengths and the power of Dynatrace, which is the full stack monitoring of environments. Then we have all these anomalies detected automatically by our AI, which is also doing the root cause analysis. And if we detect a real problem in your application or in your services, then we will send out this problem notification. And a very good receiver for this kind of problem notifications is Ansible, or in our case, Ansible Tower, which we will see in a minute. And so Ansible Tower will receive this event. It will trigger a job, which is basically a playbook that is executed. And in this playbook, you can have a lot of different, we call it remediation actions. So the playbook can be just a sequence of steps that maybe a human operator would do to remediate this problem. But the power, if you're not relying on a human operator, is that it doesn't matter if this problem occurs on Monday morning or on Saturday evening, because if it's taken care of by the automation between Dynatrace and Ansible. So we have an integration with Ansible Tower. So in your Dynatrace tenant, you can go to the integration settings, and you can just click on Ansible Tower. You basically just paste in your template, job template URL, your credentials, and then you're good to go. And in the last screen, we already see that the playbook is executed. And this is also what I want to show you today in a live demo. And it's about demo time. So let me just switch to my small demo application here. And we also need some kind of a load generation here. So I just rearrange the screen a little bit. Hope you can see it. So we, for this demo application, which is running, by the way, on an OpenShift cluster. So we are using, this application is using a couple of microservices. It's called, it was originally called the Weaveworks Sock Shop. We rearranged a little bit. We did a couple of things with it. So we kind of renamed it to the Dynatrace Sock Shop. And in this sock shop,
pretty cool socks. I gotta say, those are pretty awesome socks.
Pretty awesome. So we can take a look at the full catalog if you want. And there could also be some filters, and we can just take a sock and put it in the shopping cart. So right now we have one item in the shopping cart, and I don't take this one. Maybe I take the fancy ones here. So I add them to the cart, and we will see we have now 2 items in the shopping cart, and it's a kind of fully functioning sock shop. And we will just play around a little bit with this sock shop. And for this, let me just start a small load generator. Okay, so here on the very left-hand side, we are now adding more socks and more socks and more socks to our shopping cart. We just do this for having a little bit of traffic on our sock shop application. And we can actually also look into our sock shop application. For example, on the Smartscape, I showed you earlier for our own demo application and for the actual sock shop application, which is running right now on our OpenShift cluster. We can also see we have 3 hosts. So these are our cluster nodes. We have a couple of processes running on these nodes. We can see which processes are interconnected to each other. We can see the services talking to each other. So for example, what we have here, we have Apache Tomcat, we have a MongoDB, we have a Node.js frontend here. We see to which services it talks. And we have an application on the very top of it, which is, of course, the sock shop. We can also take a look at the sock shop and investigate from a different point of view. But let us now, in the Ansible Tower, let us now start a promotional campaign. So we came up with the idea of having the concept of campaigns we can launch on the website. So a percentage of our users get some special socks along with the socks they already put in their shopping cart, but also get some special socks as kind of a gift, also put in their shopping cart. So, and in order to enable this to be like, to have some control over who is able to start this campaign, to stop the campaign, we have developed some playbooks, and we will just start this campaign right now, and it will ask for some very simple information. So for example, the promotion rate, which is 35 right now, which means 35% of our users will get additional socks in their sock shop, shopping cart. And then we have also remediation action, which means if something goes wrong with this deployment here, we have someone to call, which is now again the Ansible Tower. And in the Ansible Tower, we can call one specific playbook to kind of remediate if something goes wrong with our deployment. And then we have some information we might need to have it a little bit more generic. And we just launch this, small playbook here. We will also see what it's doing in kind of the background, or what's actually being executed. So we will see that the Ansible Tower is executing some small tasks. One is to update the percentage of the promotion for cart service, and also it updates the promotion configuration for the cart service. So this task here is actually telling Dynatrace that, hey, right now there was a deployment and we changed some configuration. So in case you need some more additional information about what's going on right now, or if there is any problem related to this deployment, you can have more information here. What we can also see right now, let me just make it a little bit bigger. Sometimes we get an error. So let me just stop this for a second. So here we get an internal server error because it says promotion campaign not yet implemented. So it might be that someone started the promotion a little bit too early without asking the developers if the promotion is already ready for the public to be seen. So we can see that a couple of users, they might get an error, and for others, everything is going fine. We can also take a look at Dynatrace. Again, we can take a look at for transaction services, because we will see the items controller, which is exactly the one controller which is taking care of processing all the items that will be added or are added to the shopping cart. So we can take a look at this items controller. We take a look at all the data within a time frame. So in Dynatrace, you could also select a different time frame, for example, the last 30 minutes, the last hour, but we're good with the last hour. So we're now investigating. Everything we see is now like the snapshot of the last hour. And it's, as we can see, it's real-time data because we can already see there is a configuration event here. And what happened? Actually, there was a configuration in our promotion rate, sorry. So just a couple of minutes ago, we set the promotion rate to 35%. We did it today. The source of this configuration change is the Ansible Tower. So we sent along with the configuration change event, we sent along, hey, this one is coming from Ansible Tower. So in case something goes wrong, you might take a look there. And we can see also the name of our configuration here again. And also along with all this information, we have the remediation action here, which is an action that can be executed if we discover some problems with this configuration change or deployment change. So we can also take a look. We already see that there is an increase of the failure rate. We can see the response time here, and we can also see how this one service is kind of interconnected within your application. So let's just take a look here. This items controller is normally called from one service, which is the front end, which totally makes sense since in the front end you add all the items to your shopping cart. This service is being served by one Apache Tomcat, which is a pod in OpenShift, and we could take a look at. So this also explains the weird name here. In OpenShift, they kind of get arbitrary names. And the service talks to a database. So we can also see that there is a database in the background, and the database is called carts database, and this is exactly where we store the information about all the socks that are being added to our shopping cart. And while I was talking, you maybe realized that there was a problem opened by Dynatrace. So the Dynatrace AI detected this kind of failure rate is not normal for this application, and it opened a problem for us. So we can take a look at the problem here. We just click on this problem, and we can see that there was an increase of the failure rate. And what we can also see right now was there was a remediation playbook started. And just take a brief look at the very left-hand side. All these error messages, they are on. So I didn't do anything in the background. You could see my screen all the time. But actually, we have tied together the power of automation by Ansible with the power of Dynatrace with monitoring. So when Dynatrace detected the problem, it sent out a notification to Ansible Tower. And Ansible Tower sent back, okay, I will now start this remediation playbook. And just seconds later, the invoked remediation action was successfully executed. So we can also take a look what was going on actually in the background. So let's switch over to Ansible Tower and take a look at the executed jobs here. So we can see I started the campaign a couple of minutes ago, and only less than 4 minutes later, the remediation playbook kicked in. So the remediation playbook is some generic playbook which got some information from Dynatrace. And we can see in the start, so the remediation playbook was pushing a comment to Dynatrace, which you saw, which was like, hey, Ansible Tower is taking over now. It also got some payload, which the playbook is kind of parsing and finding the right information it needs. And in this information, you saw this remediation action from the deployment event earlier. So Ansible Tower is calling this remediation action and then pushing a success comment in the case this remediation action could be successfully executed. And we can also see there was a second playbook executed, which was the stop campaign. So the remediation for the campaign that was kind of accidentally executed with 35% of the customers was stopping this campaign. And here we just set the promotion rate back to 0. So this is kind of a also generic playbook, which can be there for stopping the campaign. But in this case, we leverage this playbook also for auto-remediation and self-healing. So the load generation is still running, but you haven't seen any error since. And we can also take a look back in Dynatrace about the service. So we go back to the service, we go back to the items controller, and we can see the failure rate is going back to 0. And what we can also say here is there is another event here. So 4 minutes later, about after the first event, we can see a new event was created and the promotion rate was set back to 0%, which means we are taking away the traffic from the promotion service, which is causing errors. What we can also do is with Dynatrace, we could drill into the exact code line of our cart service to find out what was the actual error of this. We call this the pure path, and it's the complete path between the front end and the back end, and we can drill down here. What we see also is I started the load generation about here, and we can see the problem only was created in the very narrow time frame. So only about 4 minutes we had this kind of errors, and it's already the failure rate is already going down and back to 0. Dynatrace still has the problem open here. It will just wait a couple of minutes to close the problem. Otherwise, if this would be a very temporary remediation, Dynatrace doesn't want to open and close problems in very short amount of time. So here we can see Dynatrace just waits a couple of minutes then to close the problem automatically. So basically, the only thing what was needed in this demo, and I will show you this, is the integration between Dynatrace and Ansible. So we have one integration here, which is via the Ansible Tower, and I just call one generic Ansible Tower job template, which is the Remediation Playbook, and I just call it from here, and it will automatically take as the payload all the problem details sent by Dynatrace. It will look for a remediation action on those deployment events and execute this remediation actions of these deployment events. And so you can automatically remediate your applications, and with this you can enable self-healing applications in your use case or in your environment. We've built this with a couple of technologies. We've done this with deployment changes by, for example, rolling out a new microservice. We have done this with feature flags by just toggling which feature we want to enable. Here we have done this with a promotional rate, so we can increase or decrease the amount of the percentage of the users that get this promotional gift. So there's a couple of use cases, and I'm sure in your environment, in your organization, you can come up with a couple of use cases as well. And this is just a demo to show to showcase to you how you can connect these two different kinds of tools. So with this, I'm just going to end the load generator and just switch back to the slides.
That was super cool. Yeah, I was just gonna chime in and say, like, not only do you see, like, you can just be somebody coming in, like, after someone, you know, has deployed something or whatever, you can be someone else coming in and see all the details that you need to see. And not only that, but a lot of times the problems are going to get, like, remediated on, like, automatically. So you don't necessarily have to worry about it, but you do see kind of like a trail of what has happened. And you can even control the amount of time that you look back into and stuff. So it's, I don't know, it's just a lot of information at a glance that I feel like is extremely helpful for teams and stuff, especially.
Yes, exactly. And also what we've seen is sometimes if you don't want to have this all this information being executed, like the remediation being executed automatically, you can just have this information there and wait for a human operator to pick up this information and work with this information. But it's just very powerful.
So it's optional. Okay, that's really cool. So you can set it to either just, okay, I want to set it and forget it, like definitely fix this, or be like, well, if there's a problem, I want to see what it is before I, you know, solve it or whatever. So you can have it be either way.
Yes, exactly. For example, you can create something we call alerting profiles, and you could say all the things going on which affect my infrastructure, I want to fix them automatically. But other things that I don't know affect my databases, I want to be informed. So you can just play around, but it's just a use case how you can connect Ansible and Dynatrace. And also a lot of things I've used here, it's available on the Ansible Galaxy. So sending comments from Ansible to Dynatrace is available as a module, as a role in the Ansible Galaxy. So you can just download this. Also sending this deployment information from Ansible to Dynatrace, it's available as a role. So it's a lot of things are already kind of prepared. You just take it and make the best out of it, whatever fits your use case.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And at the end, I guess we can just share the links of where people can find this information. Sure. And they would just need to put in their own credentials and things like that. Is kind of like it would be very easy to just pick up and use, like you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's basically you just create an API token within your Dynatrace tenant, and then you just have your Dynatrace tenant ID and the API token, so you can connect from Ansible to Dynatrace, and everything else you just specify via variables. So you just say, okay, hey, I want this comment to say hello from Dynatrace, or hello to Dynatrace from Ansible, or I just want to say, okay, I'm now starting the remediation, or whatever you want. So it's very easy to use. It's just a couple of lines where you fill your own information. All the sending the data in the background is taking care of these modules, of these roles.
So it's customizable to however your own organization or your own workflow, I guess, whatever works best for you.
Yes, exactly.
That sounds pretty great. All right, so I guess I'm not sure if there's questions. There haven't been actually any, which I think is like, I think that might be a good sign, because I feel like this has been extremely thorough. I do want to kind of make a call out for questions, though, to see if anyone is wondering anything specific. You can just put that into the question interface. But it might just be, you explained it very well, so I'm actually not super surprised that.
Yeah, maybe in the meantime, I can just make a short recap about the demo, because in the demo, I always have like, there's always this flow where you see all the things, how they talk to each other. But I just want to have again, this picture, how really you can combine the power of Dynatrace and Ansible and what we've seen in this demo, and maybe how you, just to give you a little bit of those building blocks, how you can take this idea of self-healing applications and build it in your own organization. So as I said in the very beginning, there's a kind of a release of a new feature. This can be either a feature toggle, this can be a configuration change, this can be a rollout of a new deployment in Kubernetes or OpenShift or any other environment. So this is something you start with the change. And if this change triggers something which you would call like a problem, or in our case, we saw an increase of the failure rate, then Dynatrace got you covered, and we are detecting this failure rate quite fast. So you've seen it only took 4 minutes from the very beginning when we deployed the feature to the moment where it was already remediated. So Dynatrace detects this and can fire a problem notification to Ansible Tower. And this is the part where Ansible kicks in and starts this playbook. And this playbook can then do a couple of things. So in my case, I just wrote the playbook, so it's looking for the latest deployment information. And if we find the deployment, we're just looking for remediation scripts that we can execute. And so Ansible then executes this remediation script for us, and we remediate the problem. And also what I've mentioned a little bit earlier is that you have all these comments on your Dynatrace detected problem. So just imagine that this process here is kicked off on Saturday evening while you're having dinner with your family, and this playbook kicks in. So there is nothing magic going on Monday morning, because you can always take a look back in Dynatrace, and you can take a look at all the problems that happen on the weekend and what caused them to be closed again. So you will see that Dynatrace, you will see on the Dynatrace problem that Ansible for you did the problem remediation, and you can still then investigate what was really going wrong, and you can fix the problem, and then you can start again, because you always have the safety net of self-healing in your applications.
Okay. Is there so there actually are a couple questions now. Let me see. So how to specify in Dynatrace manage which remediation to kick in based on event errors? Okay, so how do you specify in Dynatrace like which problems I guess to like based on the event? So I'm wondering, does this mean like how do you like make it a hierarchy of problems to fix? I actually was wondering this myself, is can you remediate multiple problems at once, depending on what they are, or is it one at a time?
Sure. It actually depends also very heavily on the customer environment. So in this environment, I've used very simple playbooks that take one problem notification and look for deployment events. But actually, it's possible to send out to take as an input the problem, and then try, for example, first try to set the promotion rate back to 0. And then you wait for a couple of minutes. You have your Ansible playbook running, waiting for a couple of minutes, and then you ask back for at the Dynatrace API, hey, is this problem still open? And if it's still open, then you might maybe scale up your deployments if you still got some errors, because maybe it's not only the error rate, because maybe you also get some very slow response time, and it might be a fix to give it a little bit more to just increase the number of pods in your OpenShift environment. Or there might be the case, oh, we have to restart a process because the process is hanging, or we have to adopt the memory settings in your Java process. So there could be a couple of different strategies to remediate the problem, but these are very kind of customer specific. But everything you can imagine and you can write in your Ansible playbooks, you can tie them to Dynatrace, and you can have this alerting profiles, and you can just have different Ansible Tower problem notifications listening for different alerting profiles. So here you have a lot of flexibility to connect a problem with a remediation.
So I think this person's also asking, how do you set which remediation action to take? Is that in Ansible Tower?
Actually, I can go back
to
our, I just have to close this window here. So what we can see here in our transaction services, and by the way, we can see the problem is gone now. So we can see that there is one specific remediation action set here. So this remediation action was actually set in Ansible Tower. So we defined in our job template here.
Yeah, okay.
In our start campaign, we defined if something goes wrong, call this, it's actually a job template with the number 8. So this is basically what it says. So if something goes wrong with starting the campaign, then please call this remediation action here. And if you have another action here, for example, you want to restart the pod, then it would be just a different action here. So actually, in this case, we define which remediation action to take. We define right where we are doing the change. And in this case, it's an Ansible Tower playbook or template.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, I've got one more question here. How do you get reasonable test events to verify the remediation playbooks? Wondering if I'm wording that right there.
Yes, I think that's a very good question, actually.
Okay.
So what we've seen right now, I've only showed you this case in one environment, which we could call this environment like a production environment, or it could also be a staging environment. We don't know because I don't have different kinds of environments here. But when you're having this, when you want to have your applications, when you want to have the safety net of self-healing applications for your own applications, you have to make sure that you are able to test it also in staging or even in dev. So you have to make sure that you are able to fire or to create problems in your application stack, in your infrastructure, maybe as well. So one thing could be you use a thing called chaos monkeys. Chaos monkeys. There is, for example, a library also for Java Spring Boot applications. So with this, you can simulate problems in your applications, and you can react with playbooks, for example, to these problems. So this would be one example, or you just have some additional code in your applications which introduces more maybe sleep time, so you can increase the response time or fire some exceptions which causes an increase of the failure rate. So this is just some concepts you can use, but it's definitely important that you're not using self-healing applications only in production, but actually you have to integrate this in your whole delivery pipeline.
Okay. There's a question about, there's several people asking about what needs to be trialed in order to do this themselves, and I'm explaining you can do a Dynatrace trial and also the Red Hat, Ansible Tower trial, which you can get online. And also they're asking about, are there any demos on Ansible Playbook? So I'm mentioning that when you go to the role on Galaxy, there's test playbooks and all that kind of stuff that you can download along with the entire role and the module that it comes along with. Is there any, and you mentioned the GitHub repo. I don't know if you would like to cover that now. Actually, we're about 4 minutes away from end of broadcast, so I think this is probably a good time to talk about links and where to learn more and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just jumped to the slide, so I think we covered most of the things. So actually, this would be my only slide left, despite of the links. So just want to a quick recap. What I've showed you today was the deployment automation with Ansible Galaxy roles. So you can roll out the one agent quite fast and easily to hundreds or thousands of nodes just within minutes. And the second use case was the self-healing application use case with Dynatrace and Ansible. So this is what we've seen. And we have a couple of links and resources. So you can, we have a blog where you can read about all these use cases, which also I've talked about today, or most of them. So a couple of links are here, either on the dynatrace.com blog or also on the ansible.com blog. So you can find the information there. And also we have these Dynatrace roles in Ansible Galaxy. They are on the two namespaces. The one is called Dynatrace and the other one is called Dynatrace Innovation Lab. So in the Innovation Lab, we are kind of actively developing on new and very exciting use cases, which are not part of our core product, but still we want to share them with the public. So we put them on the Dynatrace Innovation Lab. And also we have a GitHub repository, which is called Dynatrace-Innovation Lab, and we will put the resources from this webinar also there. It will be available in the next couple of days, along with the recording. And also, please do sign up for the Dynatrace free trial. You can go to dynatrace.com. You can watch a nice video, but also you can go right directly to trial, and you can sign up for a 15-day free trial. And there is no limitation on anything I've showed you today. In this trial, regarding the application, you need some host where you host this application. So I've done this on OpenShift, as I've said, but basically you can just run this Dynatrace trial on any infrastructure you want, and then you can take the resources we will put on GitHub and play around. And also you can reach out to me. I think my Twitter handle was also mentioned somewhere. Otherwise, we will put it on GitHub as well. And yeah, so in case of questions, you can always contact me as well.
Yeah, this is a lot of resources where people can, and I actually also want to mention with Ansible Tower, you need to download the trial version. You will need a license for that, and you can get that on ansible.com/license. And you can either do like a free node or free forever 10 node license, or contact someone at Ansible to give you a license for more nodes if you need it. But yeah, either way, I feel like this was extremely educational for anyone, either if you're familiar with Dynatrace and you were curious about Ansible, or vice versa, or you didn't really know much about either. Like, I feel like for just a wide spectrum of the audience, this was extremely helpful and educational. So I really appreciate this, Jürgen, showing the compatibility of Dynatrace and Ansible working together.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun having this webinar with you. Thank you a lot.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, this recording will go out probably tomorrow, and so watch out for that. And we'll probably put in the I'll put in the GitHub repo link also in that email for attendees. But yeah, I guess I guess that's it with the demo, and we recapped and everything. So, and it's 11 o'clock now, Eastern time. Thank you again, Jürgen, and I'm going to go ahead and close out this broadcast, but I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day.
Same for you. Thanks.
Thank you.